You can study in the morning, you can study at night. You can study outside by a campfire light. You can study with the Rabbi.
Brittany Maynard was a 29-year-old woman suffering from terminal brain cancer. Her story of taking her own life and choosing to die with dignity has really swept the nation this week. It's caused us all to think about what we feel about death and dying, about euthanasia, about the value and the sanctity of human life. Judaism has a lot to say about these questions, and it's impossible for me to sum it all up in just a few moments, but I want to share with you just a few thoughts. The first thought is a story. It's the story of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. The story is that Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi was dying. He was very, very ill. And his disciples, his students, were praying and praying and praying for him. And the tradition tells us that it was their prayers that were keeping him alive, and only their prayers that were keeping him alive. Until suddenly, one of his servants, one of his maids, saw how much suffering he was in, realized the power of those prayers, and recognized the importance of interrupting those prayers so that his soul could depart. So she went up to the roof and dropped a jug, and the sound of the crashing of the jug shocked the students. They stopped for an instant from their prayers, and Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi died. What does this teach us? What does this tell us about the sanctity of life and allowing people to die with dignity? Well, the Talmud comes along and suggests to us that, in fact, we have a responsibility to help people die what they call a beautiful death, miftah yafa. We learn this from the Torah teaching of Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, that you should love your neighbor as yourself. We learn, the rabbis teach us, that we have a responsibility to make sure that we don't keep people alive and in pain, in terrible pain, for a long time. We have to give them the kavod, give them the honor of allowing them to have a miftah yafa, a beautiful death, a painless death, if we can. Now, the rabbis wrangle back and forth about what does this mean? Can we, in fact, withhold treatment that's keeping someone alive, as the maid did in the story of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi? Can we actually introduce something that will hasten death? Can we take our own lives if we decide that we're in pain, that there's no future for us, that we're going to die anyway? This is such a complicated idea because it's not just physical pain that people suffer from, it's also mental anguish. And God forbid that someone would take their own life because they felt like their mental anguish would never end. So what do we do with all of this? There's no simple answer. There's no clear answer. The one thing that we as Jews absolutely believe is in the value of human life and human dignity. And that when anyone passes away, whether by their own hand, by nature, by disease, that our responsibility is to honor that soul, is to honor that person's journey, to offer comfort when we can, to search for comfort when we need it ourselves. So I can't give you the definitive answer, but I can tell you that Brittany Maynard took her life and perhaps gave herself a miftah yafa, a beautiful death. Baruch Dayan Emet. Blessed be the true judge.
It's okay, as you will see, that we're bound to disagree. Don't have to see eye to eye to make the Torah come alive. Now that I've had my say, let's not waste the whole day.